let's start. What will we do today? So first of all, my name is Jette, and I work as the partnerships manager for WFTO, the World Fair Trade Organization. As I just said, we'll be recording the session, just so you know. And also, please stay on mute during the presentation and the interview. We will spend about an hour and a half together today. I will tell you a little about the Small But Perfect project. Tamsin from Common Objective will tell you about Co and our Small But Perfect Hub on Co. Then I'll give an overview of what impact business models look like. And then we'll have Zaren interviewing two really amazing impact business leaders, followed by all of you going into breakout rooms, getting to know each other and talking about how you approach the idea of impact business model in your own business, or would like to once you have set up your own business. And finally, we'll come back together for a couple of final words. So before I start about the impact business models, as I said, I will say a little bit about Small But Perfectly Formed, and Tamsin will tell you about the hubs. So Small Perfectly Formed is a project to accelerate and SMEs transition to circular and sustainable models. However, we do recognize that small and medium-sized fashion enterprises are working within a wider and need more than just acceleration. They need to be integrated into a system that truly puts people and planet before profits. So as a result, we aim to drive systemic change in the fashion business support landscape through accelerating the accelerators. So we're mapping policy landscape in which SMEs operate and creating a transnational network of SMEs and organizations who support those. This is a collaborative project co-funded by the European Commission, the COSME program, and we are working closely together with Common Objective, which leads me to giving the word to Tamsin, CEO and founder of Common Objective, to talk about the Small But Perfect Hub. So I will stop sharing for a moment, just because Tamsin will share her screen and let you know a little bit more about the Small But Perfect Hub.
Thank you so much. I'm just sharing my screen. Thank you for that. So great to see the people in the room joining us from all over the world. I'm sure it'll help everyone to connect with each other if you say who you are in the chat and where you're from, what you're interested in. So I'm Tamsin Lejeune. I know many of you. I founded Common Objective some years back, and we're delighted to be working with this project because it's right at the heart of why we founded Common Objective and a lot of our business members. So Common Objective now has 50,000 members. If you're not on the site already, please do go up commonobjective.co. You can join up for free, create an individual profile. It's a bit like LinkedIn. So it allows you to connect with other members. It allows you to represent what you're doing. You can create a business profile very easily and share what you're doing. And you will also start getting matched with other individuals, with other businesses on the site. Our goal is to open doors to market for businesses that are really changing the way things are done, and impact business models are at the very heart of that. I think today we're going to hear some really exciting examples of how entrepreneurs and business leaders are doing things better. So we, as this project, are here to try to facilitate that and encourage more businesses to support you in your goals. So just a little quick intro to the hub. We're continually adding to this hub, so it probably looks a little different to when you last visited it, if you did. So Small But Perfect Hub, I'll put a link in the chat so you can find it more easily. But this is what it looks like. So in here you can explore resources. So we'll be continually adding content. You can see we've got 3 articles on there now about impact business models. which share information about introduction to them. We've got a brilliant manual here that's worth having a look at, that takes you through things that you might consider, examples of how it's done, mission and structure. And then you can also see, increasingly we'll be uploading case studies of businesses and business leaders who have done it and how they've done it, how they've tackled the common problems that we face as actors in the fashion industry. And we will be including links to events like this, the recordings, etc., and what's coming up next. In the hub, you can also see the business members. So hopefully some of you are already represented in here, either as individuals or businesses. If you're not a part of the network yet, please click here and join up. You can do so in a couple of minutes, and we will then make sure that you are represented in this hub as an individual. So we have quite a few members already who've joined. On Co, you have an individual profile. So any of these I can connect with, I can message, I can also bookmark the resources. And if I've joined Co, I can create a business profile. So we're trying to increase the impact of this project through supporting businesses that are part of it, that are featured in it. Just an example of one of our businesses. In creating a business profile, again, this only takes you can do it in less than half an hour. And as soon as you've created your business profile, you're going to start getting matches and visibility on the site. The more sustainability information you enter about the business, the higher your search ranking. That means the more matches you'll get. The more connections. You can write quite a lot about what you do. You can put any business members, any members of your team on there so anyone can connect with you. And you have the chance to gain an award simply by creating a business profile on Co. So I hope you'll enjoy browsing some of that. Anything else you need me to cover, Yeti?
No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Thank you, Tamsin.
Brilliant.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tamsin. I know you're very, very busy. Yeah, fantastic. I know you're very busy. So I know you have to jump off to another meeting, but thanks for joining us for this first few minutes. So we can look at that. All right. Okay. So as I said, I will now give you a bit of an introduction to impact business models and how they're structured. And as Tamsin already said a moment ago, went through the resources, there actually is a resource on the Small But Perfect Hub that gives you a little bit more detail around this as well. So no worries if you're not catching all of this, because it's all on the hub. So impact business models are set up differently to mainstream businesses. And there's 3 areas of structural components used by these businesses that allow them to prioritize social and environmental goals rather than financial goals. So firstly, they have social conditions that uphold human rights and create positive social impact. Secondly, they adopt trading practices that ensure such conditions are actually met. And this can be through payment terms and longevity of trading relationships, which I think we all know can make or break attempts to, improve conditions for workers. And then thirdly, they have embraced their missions through their structures, such as, their board, governing documents, and the profit model, ensuring that their business is set up to put people and planet first. So I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into this triangulation and the 3 different points that I've just touched upon to give you a better overview of, what that actually means. So when we talk about human rights conditions, what do we need to look at when we look at businesses and whether or not they're actually having an alternative sort of impact business model? So, we're looking at what are the conditions for workers, farmers and artisans, and does the business make sure to have a positive impact in their life. Because, truly sustainable businesses remain commercially viable, but their priority is always to promote the welfare of workers, farmers, artisans. And this would, for example, mean that they adhere to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, in addition to local law, and they ensure that there's no forced labor in their work, in their workforce along the entire supply chain. But these businesses focus on social conditions that really uphold those human rights. And it's not just, the child's rights, but it's, no discrimination, gender equality, freedom of association, and many more. And yeah, as I said, and at the same time, they create positive social impact and they are staying commercially viable. So the second point that I was talking about are the trading practices. And so we're looking into, what kind of, what are the trading practices of a business. So sustainable trading practices, also core to ensure those human rights conditions that I've been just talking about, and that those are actually being met by the enterprise. And this can be, for example, through payment terms and longevity of trading relationships, which I already mentioned. But another trading practice is, for example, fair payment, and a payment that has not been dictated by the buyer, but a payment that has been mutually negotiated and agreed by all the stakeholders through ongoing dialogue and participation. Provides fair pay for everyone, and can also be sustained by the market. And then the third area is the mission and the structure. And here we need to look at, what is the mission and the structure of the business, and does this embed social sustainability into everything the business does? So business models that put first exhibit mission and not by, for example, cutting costs. That does not lead to unsustainable, such as abandoning supply. Structural features common across truly socially sustainable businesses are workers' representation on the board, formal policy on profit reinvestment into social and or environmental goals, and ownership by producers. Of course, there also exist many informal structures to ensure the mission primacy. So I think the structural features, such as a board that represents a diverse range of stakeholders, including the workers, governing documents to ensure mission, not profit primacy, formal policies to limit extraction of profits, are all transformational in several ways. So, a business with such structures can prioritize creating opportunities for all stakeholders involved, not just for the shareholders. It can be more innovative in the development of new products or production methods, etc., because they do not need to pay dividends at the end. So they can, they can try things. And without the pressure to pay dividends, companies also have more freedom to prioritize social impact. So we're now looking into how this looks on the ground, and there's many, different structures that impact business models can take shape in. But one of these are cooperatives, and that's our topic for today. Just to give you a quick sort of understanding of what cooperatives are, I'm going to read a definition to you. So a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. So this people-centered business model focuses on the inclusion of workers in the democratic decision-making and the ownership of the organization. And we have the great privilege to talk to two very successful businesses from two very different places in the world. We have Anna from Manos del Uruguay and Johnny from Creative Handicrafts. And I'm going to stop sharing because we'll have Zeren talk to Anna and Johnny about their business models now. So, Zeren, it's your stage.
Thank you, Jette. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. For those of you who might not know me or that we haven't met before, I'm Zeren. I'm working at WFTO as a projects officer. And today, as Jette said, we will talk to two guests who will share their experiences with us here today. Because sometimes we know that, things are theoretically possible, or we read about things, we hear about things, but it's also possible to do things on the ground. So we're very lucky today that we have two guests, Johnny Joseph from Creative Handicrafts and Ana de Prado from Manos de Uruguay. So we will have a short conversation with them and learn about how they do these ideals on the ground. So Johnny and Anna, welcome. You're in different places. You're in different places on my screen. So
thank you.
If I'm looking a bit the right to the left to the right, I'm sorry, because I'm trying to look at both of you. First, I would like to ask you to briefly share with us how your business model actually works. What you do on the ground in terms of your revenues, in terms of your finances, etc. So how does your business model work? Maybe we can start with, I don't know, Johnny, maybe we can start with you, and then Anna, you can share with us what you how your business model works.
Thank you, Zeren. Thank you, Jette, for inviting me to share my experiences, share my apprehensions, share my successes and failures. So we are registered as a society in India, which is a collective ownership of members who are registered as members in society. We produce apparels and distribute to different parts of the world, to Europe, to United States, to Japan, to Taiwan. And these members are the ones who produce these products. Now, how are we different? I would rate ourselves as totally different from other organizations around the world because of the base fundamental difference in ownership. We have a collective ownership, but it doesn't mean that it is owned by members with shareholding. Why I say is the members have no right to sell the shares. They have ownership, but they have no right to appropriate the wealth of the organization simply because they haven't built the wealth. The wealth is built by individuals, organizations around the world who have raised funds to build assets, to build machines and machineries, to build an infrastructure where the members can assemble, work, learn and work, and then the benefit of their produce can be shared equally among the members. It is the highest body, the decision-making body of this organization is the General Assembly, which consists of all the members. Then the General Assembly elects a governing board, which appoints a director. Currently, I am the director, and the director manages the day-to-day affairs. But the board, which is represented by the members, take all policy decisions with regard to policies, etc. Over the years, we started very, very small back in 1994 with 2 or 3 women who assembled around the then founder of the organization, who was a Spanish nun, in fact. She's no more with us. She's assembled them because basically they were not able to earn a living, also because they were unskilled and disadvantaged. So the only way to empower these women was to provide them or upgrade their skills, provide them with marketable skills that can earn a living in the market. So they learned to produce apparels, and over the years, the number of women grew, the members grew. They were all organized into self-administered groups like a cooperative, and then they share the benefits. The difference between the business, there are hundreds of businesses that are successful. I would say the business has to be run like any normal business when it comes to timely delivery, quality standards, designs, packaging and delivery. Everything has to follow a normal business model. I would say we are no different from any businesses. But the basic difference that we have is that the motive behind the business. Here, the motive is the benefit of members, not the benefit of the shareholders or the investor of capital. We don't have an investor, first of all. The motive is not to maximize profit of the investor or the ones who have infused capital into the organization, but the motive is to share the income so that the livelihood of these people are maintained, their lives get a little better, there is a better amount of equality. I would say that would be an introduction to our organization.
Thank you so much. I think it again ties back to what Jette was mentioning in her presentation about putting people first, right? So it is, the motive is right there, and the practice is something that you managed to sustain for over the years. Now I would like to turn to Anna and ask more or less the same question. How does your business model work? And especially with regard to this point about putting people first, and how do you sustain it?
Hello, I'm Ana from Manos del Uruguay. Manos del Uruguay was born in 1968. It was started by a group of 5 women that are the wife of men that work in the countryside. And they start to see how women in the rural areas of Uruguay has a lot of traditions and art crafts, and how they create a lot of nice things with sustainable materials, with original materials from Uruguay. And they have the vision that they produce very nice things, but they don't have the commercial way to sell all these products now. So the vision that was started in 1968 is so more than 50 years ago, was how to empower that women, how to find a way to they can sell the products, what they made, and how they can live and earn a wage from that. So this was the first impulse that started all the project. At the beginning, these ladies start forming groups in the countryside of Uruguay, in small towns, faraway cities from the capital of the country. They start to put women together, teach them skills like knitting, weaving, dyeing, or spin the yarns. In Uruguay, we have a lot of wool. It's wool producer country. So it's the main material that we work. And at the beginning, the goal was to learn these women, to teach these women, to organize them, and to find a way to sell their products. For that reasons, there was a necessity to find a central service, like central point where to join all these products together. So for that reason, they generated a central service in the country, in the Montevideo, the capital of the country. And here is a logistic central service where all the work from the cooperatives comes together for quality controls, for redirect them to commercial channels. One of the most important things that these projects allowed was to bring stability work for the artisans. The aim was always to improve their conditions, to provide them with health insurance, all the benefits that a worker should have, like retirement, paid vacations, and stability in work all along the year. And to reach that missions, they have to start to develop the commercial area to bring to get sales, and for that they started three models of business that we work until now. For one side, it was to make clothes, collections to sell in local stores in Uruguay, in brick and mortar stores, and now also we have online sales. This is with the Manos own collection that has been evolved through the years. After some years, they saw the necessity to include designs in the, like an intermediate between the market and the artisans, as a way to improve as a way to include innovations in the skills they have, because they work very well the handicraft, the techniques, but sometimes this group of artisans that now are cooperatives, are organized in cooperatives. Sometimes they need like a new visions between the market and the product to find an innovations with the same materials, with same techniques, and maintaining the way the artisans work, the ability, the skills, by including each year or every 2 years some innovations to make products interesting for market, and always to keep that to catch the eye of the customers. No. From other sides, we in the 80s, Manos start to work with work for export, and start to work for very important brands like Polo Ralph Lauren, Marc Jacobs. Now we are working to Gabriela Hearst and more customers, like a white label. We develop products together with the teams of that brands, with the designers in Manos del Uruguay. We try we show to these designers, these groups of designers, the possibilities of Manos products, of the techniques, and it's a go and back between them, and what they are looking for and what we can do. So in this way we develop a product, and then we produce for them. They make an order, and we produce that orders. This way of work has been push the artisans and all the organization to improve their quality each year by year, because to achieve the standards that these brands requires, the measurements tables, stability in colors, solidity in colors, to the customer want to receive the products they buy. And sometimes when you make artisans or handcrafted works, it's difficult to do all the productions, how can I say, very similar. The nice things of the craft products are because are not perfect and are not always has a quality standard. They can have a quality standard, but not the repetition of each one of each other's same. I don't know if I'm expressing well, but it was a challenge for the artisans to reach the quality, to reach the measurements, and to improve the times, because all this was also a requirement when you work for abroad brands, that they give you 3 or 4 months for production and you have to achieve these deadlines. So that was a very, I think it was a very good learning process, and it was a pressure. There arise a lot of problems in its productions, goes and backs from cooperatives to the central service, and to do things again. But I think that's allow Manos to improve and to do what this is today, that we have an artisan product with a very good quality. That is very important to sell the product to the price that the product deserves, because it's handicraft products has something of artistic product. Is not a massive production. It's expensive than other products made in fast production ways. But it's important that that product has the quality and the innovation that I don't know if the word is justified, is to give the value that it has. So this was other a business way. And the third business way that we are doing now is to sell the yarns for people that want to knit in themselves in their house, in groups. So for one side, so we have the local collections, the Manos collections. In other hand, we have white label productions, and in the other hand, we sell yarns that are made in the cooperatives and hand dyed to sell the material.
Thank you, Anna. I think you explained very thoroughly how, on the one hand, while you were committed to the principles that Manos de Uruguay comes from, yet on the other hand, you managed to achieve and set up a financially viable model that works through, of course, encountering different challenges and exploring different ways to explore. As you said, it's a learning process, which again, if we think about a human-centered approach, it has to be a learning process with mistakes.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I would like to also again turn to Johnny to ask about some of the challenges maybe that you have encountered in the business over the years, and how you managed to overcome them. A few of them, maybe briefly, if you can share with us as well.
All right. The challenges that you were mentioning have been many. I think there won't be a day without challenges or without firefighting if you are into a business that is combining both business and what you call development work. You know, if you are trying to impact the lives, if you are doing only business, it's easy. Matter in your mind is to deliver on time and to increase profitability. But when you are combining business with social perspective, business with the model of people being first, people first, people before profit, then definitely the challenges are multifold. I would say, first of all, it was indeed difficult to find the market for the products. Even if your goods were good, market normally is not open to new producers or new suppliers. Markets do not want to risk itself by opening itself, or buyers do not want to risk themselves by opening themselves to new players in the market. So we had to look for market. We looked for very small buyers, which were definitely not sustainable in the beginning. But but over the years it snowballed. One buyer happy with us delivered another buyer. When someone found a product in the market, they looked for where that product was produced, and then it helped. The network of fair trade, WFTO, did indeed help in finding fair trade partners. We have a few non-fair trade partners, commercial mainstream buyers, but the mainstream buyers who are buying from us have a small segment that is kept separate for organizations like us, which has a little bit of a social motive behind it. So this was the first challenge. The second challenge was to motivate the people, the producers, to produce quality, and that to ensure that this will change their lives. So many a time the poor, the disadvantaged, the marginalized that you are working with are not motivated enough, and you need to work hard on that. So what we did was, it's always seeing is believing. So you had to demonstrate to them people who have made an impact their lives joining our organization. That again helped us reach out to more. Furthermore, financial viability. Financial viability has been a challenge because we had to look for funds. But I would say this was a lesser challenge for us than other challenges, because if you have a program that is viable, if you have a program that is innovative, if you have a program that is genuine, enough good people in the world who will come forward and who would want to invest without looking for a return. This indeed helped us further. Another challenge that I found, my major challenge has been from mainstream buyers. Buyers are pretty challenging. Buyers, though they would want products to be fair trade, products to be produced in good working conditions, etc. But if you look at the pricing pattern, you will find that doesn't get translated into prices. The intention of the buyers to help people doesn't get translated into prices. Let me give you an example. We have a buyer, I would not name it, which is not fair to name. We have a buyer who would want all the conditions of social conditions to be met. If we need to go through the ICS audit to meet all the sustainable conditions, but it is another person who negotiates with the price. So you have one team who is forcing us to make sure that there is dignity in production, there is fair wage, there in fact not fair wage, living wage. You go through the n number of audit, but the audit is a requirement for them, but we pay for the audit. So, but while negotiating the price is hard. it's hard. Sometimes we find, how do we get? And then, you are pitted against other competitors who say, oh, we are getting for this such and such a price. So that is a major challenge I find, and I always find we have to find an answer to it. If at all you want this world to be a little less, I would say, packs and deliver the product with the barcode. The seller has only.
Sorry, Johnny, I think we lost you there.
Also,
Yes.
I was talking about, when we deliver, a product is delivered ready to be sold with barcoded, with the sales price on it, with assortment packing. The only labor that happens at the sales is only selling and placing it in a store and selling it. It is there even on a hanger. But 80% of the sale value is still with the north. Only 20%, I'm sorry to say, it's 20%. Within this 20%, we need to pay a fair wage. You need to get the fabric, from the farmer to the final packaging person has to share this 20% of the sale value. This I don't know. And, this is a major challenge, So every time it always comes, you calculate backward. When the sale price is low, you try to figure out the target price for the purchase. So you cannot have living wage or standard of living going up in the South without a little more sharing in the sale proceeds, So I know how hard it is. I know some of the northern organizations are also not making, but the cost is very high in the north. I don't know how the answers, but I know it has been very challenging when we get target price, where I have to finally squeeze the producers to fit in the target price. This is another major challenge that I faced.
Well, yes, thank you so much for sharing it. It's also a learning process for us today, I think, hearing from you. And especially considering that both of your organizations are have actually managed to create a real impact for local communities, especially for women. And that is extremely important and at the core of your organizations. But in the end, of course, when you're working in this sector, especially, you are experiencing a lot of challenges, and that is something that needs to be always considered, how to stay true to yourself and how that kind of impact, the real impact that you manage to create, can be sustained. But on the other hand, what kind of challenges there are and how to overcome them. So I think, especially considering all of us here today with the Small But Perfect project, this is also extremely relevant to think about these two sides of the story, how to stay true to yourself and how to manage something to also actually sustain this. So as a closing question, I would like to ask both of you, maybe we can start with Anna. What would be a top suggestion from you for a similar business like you, or someone working in the fashion industry? And that question also goes for Johnny. If you were to recommend one thing to fellow organizations, what would that be?
Well, I think the first step when I saw artisan communities, not Manos del Uruguay, from all around the world, I think sometimes they make beautiful things, but they do always the same year by year. So I think the innovations start to try to to innovate every year or each 2 years, to associate with a designer or a commercial person that has a view about the market needs and what can the artisans can do without changing the skills or the materials or the way they work. What can include to the products, small changes, maybe in color, maybe in form, maybe in sizes, to make so the product is always attractive. The customers come back again and again looking for different options. I think this is important, especially when you work with crafted products. The artisan has a technique and has the tendency to maintain the technique, the colors, and sometimes they have the commercial view. It's important for the artisans to look what happens in the market, to look for trends, to look Instagram. Now in social media, you have a lot of information of where the consumer directions goes about colors, about shape. So it's important to be aware of the trends. So for that, some artisans can do by themselves, another ones need a help of another kind of person with another view. So I think innovation is important. Quality is also very important, because despite a product is handmade, the product should be long in time, should have good quality terminations. I think to think about a nice package, explain how the product is made, where the materials come from, maybe the name of the persons, to explain what is behind the product. It's something that is really important now in this. I think it started like 10 years ago, and each year is more important, and the consumers wants to know what is behind the product. And I think that this is one of the most important difference that a small business can offer to consumers, is transparency and is to tell the history. Sometimes we are so inside of what we do every day that we can see us from outside to explain us, and we wait for obvious that people knows and people didn't know. So it's important to tell your story, and other people tell your story, to share with different persons, with different abroad. If you didn't understand, tell me and I can repeat in other ways. To help to create that image of the business, and to explain in social media, explain in the products, in the packaging, in the label. I think that is very important.
That kind of storytelling that makes it a personal, giving the story of the product is important, as you say. Johnny, do you also agree with that in your experience, or would you give it as a tip to similar businesses?
I would say, small businesses or business with an impact. If you want to create an impact, the first thing I would promote is ownership. There has to be collective ownership. If businesses are individually owned or individually invested and owned, then definitely the investor is normally inclined to for the growth, etc. So collective ownership helps. Then I also would say collective investment. We need what we call a lot more social capital. We need a different kind of investors today in businesses, and people. There's a lot of charity that is happening by non-profit organizations. I would say charity doesn't create long-term impacts, but sustainable businesses create long-term impact. So I would say charities needs to invest in social enterprises, in businesses that sustains. So that is something that I would say we have been looking for businesses. It's hard. It's hard. If you want, I would say even in India, if you want to feed 1,000 people, you have 10 people to donate. But if you say I want to open a store to sell the products made by these women, hardly anyone wants to donate. This is, I would say, our pattern of investing donations have to change. Third tip, I would say, it is easy to get new buyers or businesses, etc., but it's hard to sustain. Never lose a buyer by all means. If you have sustained a buyer for the last 20 years, yes, then you have potential to grow. Or you can always deliver one time, but does the buyer come back to you with another order? So sometimes you will have to bear short-term losses. You need the bandwidth to absorb short-term losses and to sustain your buyers, delivering, and lastly, quality and timeline. If you don't meet that, however good your intentions are behind your business, it won't sustain. So I would say these are things that we have been trying to meet in the past, and we have had our challenges, but we are still in business. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It's a really important issue to think about, interconnectedly also, to how to think about structural change, to go beyond the mindset of a charity or help to a real systemic change. And in that sense, of course, as you said, long-term relationship, building that and delivering to that end becomes a very, very important aspect to be able to sustain that systemic change and ask for that systemic change as well, which is something that we are, of course, constantly thinking about within the framework of this project as well. So thank you so much, Johnny, for sharing that, and to both of you for sharing your experiences with us today, and dedicating time and effort to be here with us today. For everyone who is here on the hub, you can read about both Manos de Uruguay and Creative Handicrafts by reaching to the resources that you can find there. Also in the chat, I think some links have been shared. So please make sure that you take a note of that as well. We can move on to the next phase of this meeting, which of course also will function as an opportunity to get to know each other and learn from each other, and also brainstorm about the issues that Johnny and Anna shared with us today. So for this, we will go to smaller rooms in which we will discuss several questions, or several interrelated questions, which are more or less pointing out to the same thing. I will copy this in the chat, but I can also share it with the rooms as well. So what we would like to ask you now is, let me send the question to everyone. What we would like to ask you to do now in the smaller groups is to brainstorm about this idea of an impact business model. Think about how you in your businesses relate to it, and whether or not you have your own model, and whether or not you can see that you already have developed something, or is it something that would require a bit of more work, or is it a work in progress? So so for that, I will now create several rooms.
We will call you back in about 15-20 minutes. So you have 15-20 minutes to talk to each other and discuss those topics.
Exactly. And I can send out a warning when it's like 2-3 minutes left. I think that's a good idea. And also we can jump from room to room with Jette if you would like to ask something in the meantime.
We'll just do like a quick wrap up. So we've listened to, we've learned about the sort of impact models and the three sort of that triangulation of the three most important areas. We've listened to Anna and Johnny about how they have been setting their businesses up and you know where the struggles were and what worked really well. And of course, those two businesses are very much focused on the social side of sustainability. And of course, Small But Perfect is looking at the environmental and the social side. But I think like whatever business you're in, it doesn't matter whether you're concentrating more on the environmental side or more on the social side. What you can take away from this triangulation and this sort of like alternative ways of structuring businesses is that there is specific sort of like areas that help you stay true to your goals, and that is locking that mission into the structures of your business. So like having the right policies in place, you know, looking at the governance of your governance structure of your business, looking at, you know, obviously most businesses are quite small here, wouldn't probably have a board yet, but you know, you never know when you're growing, you know, start thinking about, you know, who's actually going to be sitting on the board and making decisions. You know, will there be some workers, some of your suppliers be part of that? So you know, so the decision making is within all of the stakeholders that are somewhere taking part in your business. And I think all of that also helps you to stay commercially viable, because what we found is we've actually looked into these like different types of business structures within the WFTO membership and the social enterprises that are part of WFTO. And we did this together with the Cambridge and the York University in the UK and an environmental institute in Sweden. And we looked into the different businesses. And what we found is that not only, you know, are they reinvesting, you know, 90% of WFTO members are reinvesting 100% of their profits back into their mission. They have, you know, 52% of their leadership is held by women. But I think the most surprising and supporting one is that actually they're 4 times more resilient than mainstream businesses. And I think that's the eye-opening thing about this. It's like, it's not just about, you know, different governance structures because you're doing something good. It's also actually that your business is going to work better if you're creating these different structures. And I think that would be something that I would love to give you on your journey that you'll have, you know, with your own businesses when you're growing, to keep that in mind and always like, you know, go back to this question of like, how is my business structured? Is my mission locked in? Who are the stakeholders of this business? Do they have a say in what we're actually doing? Yes, thank you, Matthew. He's also shared the link to that report that we've created. So do have a read if you have a little bit of time and you're interested in alternative business structures. Yes, I mean, we have 5 more minutes. I don't know, and we are blessed still with Anna's presence. So I would say like maybe we could take those like last 5 minutes, and if anyone has like a question for Anna, like a final question that you would love to hear about, please do unmute yourself and ask the question.
I have a question. I am really interested in Gabriella Hurst's business, and she is kind of one of the main players with regards to regenerative fashion. And I'm just interested to know what has been, I suppose, the relationship working with her, and like, are you supplying large amounts of items for her, or how do you see your business as regenerative also, Anna, or what's your feelings on the regenerative conversation?
Well, Gabriela Herz is Uruguayan, is from Uruguay, so I think for that reason she knows Manos from long time ago. When she started to work with us, she always said, I want to work with Manos, even the difficulties that for her, I imagine maybe for United States, or even now for United States and Europe, Uruguay is a very far country and nobody knows too much, and it's not so common to make business with us. But since the beginning, she wants to work with us. At the beginning, she ordered very few small quantities, but she has been increased along the years, and she always mentioned Manos and the social missions. She knows very well how is our organizations, how we work, and she really supports us. We are very grateful to her. And she used, this is I think it's a good example how we make a mix between her vision. She always wants to use cashmere, even recycled cashmere that is buy in Italy. She sent to Manos. And there here in Manos, we use dyeing techniques that are dyeing in cooperatives, and the artisans mix the products, and there is a mix or hand move the products. There is a mix within the techniques and the knowledge of Manos about dyeing colors, space dyed colors, weaving techniques, how she included in her designs and made them contemporary. And there is a proud behind this work for her. So she mentioned us several times. But at the beginning, she started small, and along the years, and at the beginning, for us, maybe what knows when a client order you 25 pieces is not a very revenue business. But she supports us and we support her with our work. We decide to apostar, to I don't know, to follow her, despite at the beginning the quantities are small, but now they increase, so it's good for both.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Right, okay, I think that's it. Thank you everybody for coming. We'd love to see you in our next session. So we'll have one of these sessions in May, and also one of these sessions in June. We'll look at different types of impact businesses and different models. We'll talk to different interesting businesses that have those models, such as Anna and Manos del Uruguay. So yeah, do come and join us in the next couple of months. And that's it from us. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for inviting Manos.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.